France is marking 10 years since the Paris terror attacks, with ceremonies at each site to honor the victims.
Germany has revamped its military service model and will require all men aged 18 and above to register for potential service starting from the 1st of January.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky visited the Zaporizhzhia region to meet with troops and discuss the situation on the front line.
Hundreds of Parisians gathered here at the Place of the République in central Paris, where I am currently standing this Thursday night, with flowers, candles in hand, to remember the 132 people who were killed during the November 13th Paris terrorist attacks 10 years ago. Earlier, the day's ceremonies were somber, with French President Emmanuel Macron, along with his wife Brigitte, and Paris Mayor Anne Hidalgo, paying tribute alongside former leaders, survivors, and families of the victims at the different attack sites through the city, from the cafes to the terraces, the Bataclan Concert Hall, and the Stade de France. At each site, names of the victims were read aloud in quiet reflection, honoring those who were lost. The evening ceremony that started at 6 p.m., however, was deeply moving, culminating in the inauguration of the November 13th Memory Garden opposite the Paris City Hall. And Thursday night, the Eiffel Tower lit up once again in blue, white and red, the colors of the French flag. Church bells, including those of Notre Dame, rang across the city, echoing through a Paris that still bears the scars of the attack, but has never lost its light. Sofia Katsenkova reporting from Paris for Euronews.
Germany has revamped its military service model, according to an official announcement made on Thursday. Starting from the 1st of January 2026, all men aged 18 and above would be required to register for potential military service. Around 700,000 young people, born in 2008 or later, will be contacted to complete their registrations. The new law also mandates all men of legal age to submit to medical screenings, as well as complete a questionnaire detailing their willingness to serve. As things stand, military service will remain on a voluntary basis, which Defense Minister Boris Pistorius believes will be enough.
Wir setzen ganz klar auf Freiwilligkeit. Wir gestalten einen attraktiven Dienst. Die Ausbildung verändert sich, die Bezahlung verändert sich. Das verändert sich gerade grundlegend bis hin zur Ausbildung am Drohnen. Also es ist insgesamt ein völlig neues Bild des Wehrdienstes, das da jetzt entsteht und schon begonnen hat zu entstehen.
However, if things don't go according to plan, Berlin plans to reintroduce compulsory service through a new set of legislative procedures. The move, Pistorius says, is crucial for Germany to enhance its defense readiness, as well as meet its NATO commitments, pledged to achieve by 2035.
Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky visited the Zaporizhzhia region on Thursday to meet with troops. There, he also discussed the situation on the front line with military commanders. The visit comes as Ukrainian forces withdrew from several villages in Zaporizhzhia amid fierce fighting with Russian troops. Zelensky presented the soldiers with state awards and thanked them for their service.
Дякую ще раз за службу. Ми поспілкувалися з командирами. Будемо робити все, щоб посилювати вас. Знаємо проблеми, які є. В принципі, вони однакові на всіх напрямках.
Zelensky and the commanders on the ground reportedly discussed how to strengthen defense, staffing, and specific types of weapons and equipment. They also spoke about the development of unmanned system units and the use of robotic systems on the ground to evacuate wounded soldiers.
The European Commission is proposing alternative solutions to provide financial support to Ukraine. The president of the institution presented several options on Thursday. One is to use the European budget's room for maneuver to raise funds on markets. Another possibility would be to let member states raise the necessary capital themselves. But Ursula von der Leyen is also proposing a third option.
Option 3 is to have a reparations loan. This is based on immobilized Russian asset. So this would mean take the cash balances from the immobilized Russian assets, hand them as a loan to Ukraine, and Ukraine has to pay back this loan if Russia pays back reparations. This is the most effective way to sustain Ukraine's defense and its economy.
This 140 billion euros loan would allow member states to avoid issuing new debt. It would involve using funds held by the Brussels-based company Euroclear. But to do so, Belgian fears must be assuaged. Brussels does not want to be left unprotected in the event of legal challenges once the war ends. Time is running out, however, as Ukraine will need fresh money in the first half of next year.
Onori al primo ministro della Repubblica d'Albania.
The Italian and Albanian governments met in Rome on Thursday for their first intergovernmental summit. 15 agreements were signed to strengthen bilateral relations between the two countries, ranging across several sectors from energy to trade, infrastructure, defense. Discussions also touched on the war in Ukraine and the Middle East crisis. Migration was also top of the agenda, in particular Italian-run migration centers located on Albanian soil. They became operational over a year ago, and they have faced several legal challenges, and they haven't been functioning as planned. So it's very likely that the two governments discussed ways to improve such plan. Meloni said in a joint press conference that migration, quote, is a European issue. They tried to block these centers, but will plan to move forward with them. Discussions also focused on Albania's EU accession path, with Rome reiterating its support as Tirana prepares for the final round of negotiations. Giorgio Orlandi for Euronews in Rome.
Turkey has temporarily grounded all of its C-130 military cargo planes following a crash in Georgia earlier this week. The cargo plane was flying from Azerbaijan back to Turkey when it went down, claiming the lives of all 20 military personnel on board. The cause of the crash remains unknown. Turkey's National Defense Ministry said the decision to temporarily suspend the planes was done to allow the aircraft to undergo detailed technical inspections. Only those that successfully passed the checks would be allowed to resume flying. The US-made planes are widely used by Turkey's armed forces for transporting personnel and handling logistical operations. The aircraft was purchased from Saudi Arabia in 2012 and added to Turkey's Air Force inventory in 2014 after maintenance. The plane had undergone modernization in 2022, and its most recently scheduled maintenance was completed in October of this year. Rain continued to fall in Taiwan on Thursday as cleanup efforts are underway after a tropical storm made landfall Wednesday evening. The storm, named Feng Wong, brought heavy rain and landslides and injured at least 95 people. Thousands had been evacuated from coastal and mountainous regions as the storm approached.
天天就下大雨，就这样子。这里只要每逢下大雨就淹，只是高跟低而已。
是以这个机具进入，先协助民众清理他们淹水的这些家具还有这个家电为主。
Feng Wong made landfall in the Philippines as a super typhoon and had brought floods that resulted in landslides. At least 27 people were killed. The storm then lost speed and strength as it approached Taiwan. Heavy rain is expected to continue through Thursday near the northeastern port city of Keelung and around Taipei. After a 2-year break, the World Press Cartoon Exhibition has returned to Portugal. Political figures including US President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin dominate many of the works. Topics such as global warming and Israel's war in Gaza also took center stage.
O Press Cartoon é salão de referência do humor gráfico publicado na imprensa, quer seja cartoons editoriais, caricaturas ou gag cartoon. Hoje, com as fake news, com a censura, com as pressões, eu acho que com cartunistas despedidos, jornais fechados, tudo isso faz do World Press Cartoon um salão muito desejado, muito querido pelos cartunistas de todo o mundo.
This year's big winner was Darko, a cartoonist from Montenegro. His work depicts the Statue of Liberty with her mouth sewn shut by Trump's signature.
Po mom mišljenju, Trump je stopirao svaku slobodu ljudi u Americi, napravio je granice među Meksika i USA. Ima, po mom mišljenju, vrlo loše planove uopšte i zato sam napravio da svaki njegov potpis zatvara usta svakom slobodnom čovjeku.
And a rather grotesque drawing of Vladimir Putin won Germany's Frank Hauptmann the first prize in the caricature category.
Die ganzen Schergen, ob das Putin, Erdogan, Trump ist, die wollen von Cartoons, von kritischen Zeichnungen, von kritischen Medien überhaupt nichts wissen. Und das ist dann natürlich unser Job und da gehört sicherlich ein bisschen Mut dazu, obwohl wir natürlich, wir sitzen zu Hause und sind relativ in Watte gepackt und können uns das erlauben.
The World Press Cartoon displays around 300 works that have been published in newspapers, magazines, and websites from across the globe. The exhibition can be seen at the Palacio Anjos in Algés until February 8th.